All right, welcome to the Los Angeles Kings 2019-20 shotgun season preview. Before we get started, I just wanted to apologize. You might hear some drilling. There's construction going on across the street again. This will be the only video I get out today. I know it's October 2nd. The league starts up tonight. I blame work. I've got to leave for that in about an hour or so. I'll try and finish them all before the end of the week. I will as well be doing a 2019-20 season prediction, where I think all the teams will fall. Look for that in the next 4 or so days. Let's start off here with the Kings' final statistics from last season. With their record, and they finished with 71 points. In the division, they finished 8th last. Overall, they were 30th, second last in the league. Their offense was 30th. Pretty anemic. Their defense was 22nd. Their power play was 27th. And their penalty kill was 29th. Which in hindsight, you think in 2017-18 season, it was first. What a huge drop. Wow. So let's get started with their GM, Ron Blake. He's made some changes. Hired new coach in Todd McClelland, who he actually played for before, so he knows him pretty well. He signed him to like a 5-year contract. That's a long leash because this team is going through a major bell curve at the moment. The team is just too old, too slow, with a lot of bloated contracts that need to be moved. And it's no surprise I don't see, a lot of people don't see them making the playoffs, at least for a couple of years. Now, the big boys of this group, who are probably looking for a bounce-back season, you would think, are Kopitar and Carter and Kovalchuk, and even Drew Doughty there. A lot of guys had off years. I don't know if, for instance, Carter's capable of bouncing back from anything at this point. But let's talk about some of the key departures from this team. Dion Phaneuf, who they bought out last season, and Brendan Lepsic, and some more guys we don't really need to get into. Some of the key additions, really, there's only two. Yeah, three. Okay, three. There's Nikolai Prohorkin, who came across from the KHL. Now, he was a point-per-game player there for St. Petersburg for quite some time. He was actually an LA King draft pick, and I believe he has very limited experience on North American ice. I think he played in the minors for a handful of games like years ago. So we'll see if he even makes a team, and maybe they throw him on the second or third line. Hopefully, he can inject some offense. Kovalchuk needs to have more than 16 goals. Both of his last coaches, in Desjardins and Stevens, didn't like this guy at all. He spent a lot of time in the press box. I think he played like 64 games. I thought the signing of him was nuts in the first place for LA. You're looking for a team who's contending to maybe get a guy like that, and even then, maybe 2 years, at the most, like $4 million. I don't know what LA was doing, Rob Blake was doing when he signed Kovalchuk. Players aren't getting faster in their 30s, right? And he hasn't played in the NHL, in 7 years prior. He was never really known for his 200-foot game. We'll see. We'll see if he can improve this year under McClelland. He'll probably at least give him a chance on the second, maybe even the first line. Their other addition, I digress here, was Mario Kempe. We'll see if he even makes the team. I think he's formerly of the Arizona Coyotes. And then on defense, there's Joakim Ryan, who may fit in as a 6th, 7th defenseman there. He's formerly of the San Jose Sharks. Now, let's look at some of the lineup on Daily Faceoff here. Starting with the forward group, they've got Iafallo, Kopitar, and Brown on the first line. I agree with that pretty much. Adrian Kempe, Kovalchuk, and Carter on the third. I'm not sure about Carter. They have Carter as a winger here, Kempe as a center. Carter might center the third line, or maybe even be a winger on the third line as well. His game has just really slowed down. Of course, they tried to trade him last season, and he basically kind of said, if you try and trade me, I'll quit. So Yeah, I think he's one of the worst contracts they've got. We'll talk about Jonathan Quick in a moment. Now, third line here, they have Blake Lizette centering it with Toffoli and Wagner on the wings. That remains to be seen. And then on the fourth line, they've got Amadio centering Lewis and Clifford. I don't see Grundstrom here. You would think he would make the team. He had, he played about 15 games with the Kings after being traded from the Leafs last season, and he had like 7 points. He did really well. He's kind of does everything, and he's not afraid to get his nose dirty either. He was a really good prospect they picked up, along with Sean Jersey, a defenseman, by the way, who King fans should be excited for. He probably won't show up for a couple of years, but he looks like a really dynamic defenseman. Let's chat, and they also don't have Prohorkin anywhere here. You think he might be peppered into at least the third line somewhere. Let's talk about who they have on defense here. They've got Tobias Bjornfoot paired with Drew Doughty. Now, I know Bjornfoot's like only 18 years old. Now, usually, I think last season Doughty was paired with like Forbort, but I believe he's injured still at the moment. I think he's even on LTIR. We'll get to that on Cat Friendly in a second. On the second pairing, they've got Martinez and Matt Roy. And on the third, they've got Hutton and Walker. Maybe you see Joakim Ryan pop into one of those slots as well. Now, goaltenders. We've got Jonathan Quick and Jack Campbell. Jack Campbell, in limited games, I want to say he played around 23 or something like that. He did really well. Had over like a 920 save percentage. Jonathan Quick, not so much. Below 900 save percentage. He played like very limited games last year too because of some injuries. I think it's time for him to go. Because Peterson, who played some games, looked terrific. He looks like the goalie of the future, and I'm not sure keeping him in the AHL for another year is going to help him. I doubt they're trading that guy. It's Quick, but Quick, it's contract that might be a problem. Now, let's look at, speaking of contracts, let's look at the Cap Friendly right here really quick. Now, at the moment, the Los Angeles Kings have just over $5 million in cap space. Now, the UFAs on the forward group after next season will be Tyler Toffoli. He's currently making 4.6. Trevor Lewis, who's 32, who's making $2 million, and Kyle Clifford, who's 28, who's making 1.6. Toffoli, by the way, is 27 years old. They have two RFAs in their forward group here in Carl Grundstrom, who, if he gets a shot into the lineup, could be looking at least a little bit of a raise. He's 21 years old. He plays left wing, by the way. And there's Austin Wagner, your depth third, fourth line player. He plays both wings, age 22. He'll be an RFA as well. Perhaps he'll have some potential to grow. Now, looking at the defense, the UFAs will be Ben Hutton. He only signed for 1 year at $1.5 million. He's 26, a left-hand shot defenseman, formerly of the Canucks. Also, you have here Joakim Ryan, who I mentioned earlier, at age 26. He's making league minimum, just over $700,000. He's a left shot D. The two RFAs on defense here are Sean Walker, who's 24, and Curtis McDermott, who's 25. He's a right shot D. Who has arbitration rights as well. Now, Jonathan Quick he's 33 years old, and he's making $5.8 million over the next 4 years, which makes his contract a little hard to move. I would think maybe they could take back an equal kind of contract for a forward or defenseman, because that's the areas where they can use some assistance. Even if it's for a depth guy, maybe they even eat $1 million of the salary. We'll see what they do with him, but they've got to get Peterson up there and keep Campbell as the backup I would think Campbell's got 3 more years on his deal at a really good price too. He's only 27. He's making just over 600,000, just under 700,000 this year, and then 1.6 for the 2 years after that. I mentioned Derek Forbert. He's on the LTIR. He makes over $2.5 million. He'll be a UFA after next season as well. He's a left shot defenseman. They also have Gabriel Vilardi, one of the most promising prospects they have at center. He's 20. They have him on the season opening injured reserve list on Cap Friendly for some reason. Of course, there's Dion Phaneuf, whose buyout will cost them just over 2.1 this season, just over 4 million next season, and then just over 1 million for 2021, 22, and 22, 23. There's also a recapture penalty on here from Mike Richards for $1.3 million. They do have a lot of promising rookies that are coming up through the pipeline, including Alex Turcotte, who's a center. There's Rasmus Kupari, who's a center. Gabe Vilardi, who I mentioned already, who's a center. Tobias Bjornfoot, who Daily Faceoff has playing on that first pairing with Drew Doughty. There's Akil Thomas, who's a center, another center. There's Jarrett Anderson-Dolan, who's another center. Kyle Clegg, who's a defenseman. Arthur Kaliev, a right wing. Mickey Anderson, a defenseman. And Carl Grunstrom, who I've already mentioned, who should be playing with the team. Where do I see them finishing? 8th. Again, 7th at the very highest in their division I'm talking about, but 8th. I don't see them making the playoffs at all. I don't think anyone does. As always, I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on this team down in the comment section down below. Hit like if you like this video. Smash that subscribe button if you haven't already. And hey, if you happen to have any Hockey Geek friends, please don't feel shy about sharing. Thanks again, and I'll see you soon.